Welcome back to the It's Bigger Than Me podcast. I'm your host, Molly Trotter Gomez. I am so excited. The topic today, I love everything relationships. Anybody who's heard any of my podcasts so far, you know, when it comes to relationships, your girl can take a really deep dive and we go down that rabbit hole and we go deep. So today, I have a special treat for you because Jackie Dorman, my goodness, Jackie, I cannot wait for you to actually, I don't want to do it any injustice sharing your background and how incredible when it comes to just relationships just in general. That I'm just going to keep it at that because you're going to tell us what it exactly that you do, but the ways that she's been able to help people not only find the love of their life, but really just have a better relationship with themselves and just go deeper in so many different regards. You are going to absolutely love where we go today. I promise you that. So you might want to grab a pen and paper because there's going to be some good stuff here. But Jackie, welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you. Please let the folks at home know a little bit of your background and just this amazing background of how you've been able to help and serve so many people in the relationship, industry, if you will.
Yeah, no, it is quite an industry. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
Along with your podcast name, it's really just bigger than me, right? And so I get to be the wing woman here at last year's single. I have a program for singles that really went viral. It has become a movement. We've helped over 1,600 people get engaged and married in the last 4.5 years. And those are huge numbers in this industry, if you will. And I just love what I do. We really restore people's dreams of having a partnership. So many people say, ever since I was a kid, I really thought about having partnership. I thought about growing up, getting married, having family, but for some reason, it just didn't work out for them. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the millennials, just that generation alone, is very single. They're single to the tune of about 56%, and they're supposed to be, when it's all said and done, about 70% single.
Wow.
And so we kind of took that as a challenge and we're like, hey, let's be the millennial matchmaker. And we've helped so many millennials get out of their own way, get out of God's way, and step into these beautiful love stories. And so being someone who is helping repair lineage and legacy for family lines has been such a blessing. So that's the main thing that I do. I'm also a matchmaker and a dating coach. So I own this program called Lost Your Single, but I also matchmake and I have been really good at it. Historically, I helped 15 of my friends get married. And I was like, hey, I think I'm good at this. I have a gift. And so why don't I just spread myself around a little bit and help other people? So I call myself the head cheerleader for your love story, your wing woman, your big sis with the answers in your love life. And so we help people do so many things as far as relationships with themselves, with God, and with others. And it's just amazing.
So beautifully put. See, I was like, this is why every time I'm like, I have people share what they have done in their background and all the things because the passion that comes out. And then there's just so much wisdom and just the things that you shared. And my mind is actually still blown on the fact that when it's all said and done, 70% with millennials, being a millennial myself, ton of friends that are
Yeah.
single. And it breaks my heart. And it's like, okay, there's something there that we get to dive deeper on. And before we clicked record, this phrase stuck out to me when I was like, which direction you want to take this, Jackie? Because we could go in a lot of different directions. And you said something that I'm like, oh, this is a good rabbit hole to chase. Your problem is not your problem. So what people come to you for, what they think their problem is in relationships, for example, really actually isn't the problem. And I'd love to dissect that a little bit because I'm sure people are kind of like scratching their heads like, what is she talking about? Here's my problem. What do you mean? So I would love to kind of be able to hear you just deconstruct that, if you will, to lead some people into hopefully getting some freedom on this podcast because I feel like that's coming too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. Helping people get breakthrough is what we do. So, what it means, just in a nutshell, is that a lot of people will go after something just, forward march, like the first of the year. That's why people love the new year because it's like, I'm going to tackle all my problems, right?
Right.
I have gained some weight. I'm going to get to the gym. I have financial problems. I'm going to get on a budget. They get all of this momentum going. And usually it's going 100 miles an hour down a dead end road because their problem's not their problem. Their weight gain is a symptom of a problem. Their financial issues are a symptom of a problem, right? It's a deeper situation. You don't tell a contractor to come and fix the crack that's going up your bedroom wall. He's going to look at that and say, yeah, I could put some sheetrock here. I could float this, I could fix this crack, but it's a structural problem. There's something going on deeper. And so that is what we do. We help people to get to the root of the problem, and we call it HeartWork. I joke a lot. I joke a lot about this because I'm like, hey, if I would have called it hard work, I feel like people would have lined up in droves, right? because people like to do the hard work. It's like, I could do it. Put on, let's do the hard work. But it isn't, it's heart work. And so getting down to where those patterns are coming from. And a lot of times you'll see that in your family line, no one actually got higher in that area than you, right? It's like, it's not even just a you problem. It's a legacy problem. It's a inherited trauma problem. And so we help people get to the root of that. We call it the revealing for healing. And it's so satisfying. Yes, it's going to hurt. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it.
I love that. And, the question that's probably on everybody's mind, and they're thinking, they're like, why did you even get into this kind of work? Like, what was your story that led you into nerding out with all the things? Rightfully so, though, because at the core of everything, relationships, everything hinges on relationships. Clearly,
Everything.
you have a lot of success at it. But what was your was there something before you helped the 15 of your friends be able to find love? Like, what was that thing for you?
I think I'd be the most unlikely person to carry that gift, or even like this businessry is what I call it, a business kind of ministry, because I come from a very broken place. My mom, bless her heart, rest her soul, she was married 3 times before I was 11 years old. Okay. And every time it was lather, rinse, repeat, same scenario. Right. And so growing up, all I saw was broken people, broken relationships, broken hearts. In fact, until I was in my 20s, I didn't know there was anything but a broken heart out there. And so I was really accustomed to all the toxicity in relationships. The red flags, I loved them. That's all that I knew, right? It's like being at a parade every day of your life. There's all kinds of flags waving. And so I got married at 20 years old. And I was about to go through the exact same situation that I saw all my life. I was just going to continue to walk that out. And then I had, an awakening. So I had my conversion moment there. I realized that it was not a God, that wasn't a man-shaped hole, it was a God-shaped hole. And that hole got filled beautifully during that season of my life. And then I've been on this mission ever since to really help people in their relationships. Because you're right, it's all about relationship. At the end of the day, all God ever wanted was a family. It's all about family. It's all about relationship. And what's the cornerstone of family? Marriage. Marriage has gotten such a bad rap. And I know why, because I grew up looking at why it should get a bad rap. If you try to do it with an unhealed heart, you're going to be in big trouble. It's going to really, really be a bad situation, not just for you, but for your future offspring, and then on and on and on and on. And so what we help people do is we help people to make sure that whatever has been running in their family stops with them. And going forward, it's not going to be perfect. It's not supposed to be. But what going forward, it's going to be this beautiful mosaic of, God's stories coming together in this great opportunity for healing and wholeness.
Ah, that's beautiful. And you said it earlier that it's going to be hard work, right? It's hard work and it's also hard work. Like, you have to choose to do it. You have to choose to do it. And when you are the first person, maybe in your family, where it stops with you, like you just shared, that's where it can get really challenging. But it's like, do we want this to keep plaguing generations after us? Or now that we know better, which I believe we're in a time where we know a lot, like a lot of people are aware of a lot of things. And you're just bringing things that were there probably in your, like, people's lineage and the legacies prior for so long. Let's get that up and let's get it out. And so what do you find that maybe is the most challenging for people when it comes to situations where the buck stops with them, like they're stopping? Like, what do you find what is like the most challenging for people when it comes to just, sticking with it, like pushing through it? I'm so curious from your line of work.
Actually, it's something that you wouldn't expect. So it really isn't like the resistance of people to change. It's not, their circumstances surrounding them. Actually, it's something that you just said without knowing it. And that is, we live in an information age. We live in an age where there's so much information. I remember when I was younger, no one went to a therapist unless you had some serious issues. That was not something that you would tell other people that you're going to therapy, right? Or you're going to see a counselor. So that has become really popular. So therapy, counselors, even coaches, books about fixing yourself. And the problem with all of that is that, once again, you're focusing on the wrong things, right? A lot of times we'll get into therapy and we'll be focusing on the thing that we think is the problem. We'll read the book about what we think is the problem. And yet we have all this good information. It's coming here, but it's not making that 18-inch journey from head to heart. It's never really getting in here. there's a scripture in the Bible that says that out of the quality of your heart flows the quality of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is indicating that there's a bunch of stuff going on in here already that is actually creating the quality of our lives. And so we got to unpack this stuff. We can't just add good stuff on top of it. We have to unpack this stuff. And a lot of people have areas of their heart where there are things, there are lies that they're believing, there's ideologies, and information from their origin family or from, the socioeconomic group that they grew up in. It comes from everywhere that are just really, without them knowing, creating these narratives in their lives that have them really stuck. And it is so, first and second nature that they don't even know it's there. And once again, we're taking in all this good breakthrough information, but it's never getting rooted into a place where it can bear fruit in our lives. And so that's what's happening.
Gosh, it's so good. It's so true. Like we are getting fire hosed with information. We're like, and we don't have time to process. And I'm huge on that. And the communities that I lead and people that I serve and mentor, I'm like, take a beat and reflect on that. Take a beat, reflect on that. I used to be like, I don't have time to sit there and journal and reflect. Now I don't. Double negative. I don't not have time. I have to create the time because my brain is like, I need to process this before it just gets stuffed down. And then it's just in this pool of nothingness because we didn't take the time to steward what was just given.
Clarity has to come before momentum. And people don't take the time to get clear, right? And the reason why is important because a lot of people don't want to get into the deep intimacy of that. Right? Even with themselves. A lot of people don't even know themselves. When you ask them, hey, what do you want? They can't even tell you because they don't know. Like, tell me 5 good things about yourself. Tell me why someone else should want to date you or marry you. They don't know. They don't know how to answer that. And so that's where we really have to stop and slow down and understand, hey, this is the real work that actually creates all the things that you're dreaming about.
Yes, come on. And it was funny as you were talking, I had this little thought come into mind being like, I'm so glad I got into sales when I did, because sales makes you got to talk, you have to know, and then you actually get really good at selling yourself in a sense to whoever it is that you're dating. And, I think I shared this with you. My husband and I have a crazy story. Like we were friends for 6 months, but then we were dating, engaging, married in 11 months. Like we just knew. COVID, yes, with our stories. COVID expedited that because we're like, we're not waiting. We're not going to sit at the end of this line of like, are we ever going to get a place to, we're like, no, what matters is we come together, but we knew right off the bat, here's what we want. And we had enough, opportunity with other people before we met each other to figure those things out. But I married him. A big reason was obviously his love for the Lord, but his emotional intelligence and availability as a man. I was like, sold. That was at the top of my list. And when I saw that, I said, come over here, unicorn. I had to lasso him and get him like right over here, right next to me. So there was things that I knew that I wanted.
I have a unicorn. I have that unicorn too.
I mean, and you don't just let a unicorn run off. Like you're not going to let somebody else pick up the prize. I'm like, come over here.
You don't. And, and I know that there's a lot of women out there that think there are no good men left on the earth. And it's just not true. It just isn't. What might be more true is that we're not attracted to the good men. And so that might be the deeper conversation. Like, it's not that there's no good men. It's that maybe, your type isn't the good men. Let's talk about that, know?
Come on. Yeah. That is, I love that you said that. I feel like it was just a few days ago having that conversation with somebody where it's like, it may not be in the package that you were looking for. My husband wasn't in the package I was looking for. I wasn't ready for that. I was actually done with dating. Then Annie walks in. I was like, am I? No, I don't think so. And then here we are. And so many people are like, it doesn't look like this thing, but again, my top non-negotiable was the emotional intelligence. And when that finally came into the picture, I was like, answered prayer. Let's go. Like, let's move towards that. So what do you find for people when it comes to the dating pool? Like, where do they get caught up the most when it comes to that? Because it sounds like a lot of people get caught up in a lot of places. If 70% is where millennials are headed, which is nuts.
Yeah. Well, that generation unfortunately got hit by a perfect storm of all different types of factors, culture factors, and growing up. If they grew up in any kind of faith, they grew up kind of thinking that dating was bad and wrong, and then they didn't do it, and all kinds of stuff like, hey, if God wants this for me, then he's just going to bring it to me. That's not really the way life works. But where do they get caught up in the dating pool? I'd say in the shallow end, if I'm being honest. Ooh. That's where they're stuck. They got little floaties on in the shallow end of the pool, where they're just basically taking a page out of a playbook of rom-coms and music and what they're seeing on Instagram highlights. And they're thinking that that's what really good partnership looks like, instead of understanding that, your body gets to vote. Okay. Your attractions get to vote as long as they're healed and healthy, but they don't get to drive the bus. They can be on the bus, but they shouldn't be driving the bus. And so many people are turning down really good opportunities for, like you said, emotionally, I call it mature, masculine, and marriage-minded men, the 3 M's, because, and that's emotionally mature, spiritually mature, financially mature, masculine, like in a divine masculine kind of way, and marriage-minded because it's not coming in some tall, toxic package.
Ooh.
Okay. Girl, if I get one more 5'2" girlfriend that's coming looking for a 6'5" man, that's, there's a reason why that's a joke. It's real. It's a real thing. And yeah, they'll settle for 6'1", but I'm just saying, I'm 5'10" and I married my man who's 5'8". Do the math there. Okay. That's 2 inches shorter in my bare feet. But once again, the things that he brings to the table, and he's very masculine, right? So I still feel feminine because that's what women really want.
Yes.
But the things he brings to the table are, way more important than that extra, 2 inches of height. And so what we do is we focus on these real shallow things. And then we wonder why we're still single.
Or we're even listening. I remember I had a conversation with my uncle where when I was dating, there were certain people I was dating. He's like, what I picture you with was the athlete, tall, dark, and handsome, da, da, da. And I said, and I got a little snippy because back then I didn't have much of a filter. And I was like, what? So I can just get cheated on and be walked all over? Like what you just described was like the American vision, but that couldn't have been further from what I wanted. Because I've tried that before. And I was like, yeah, no.
Right.
And so I'm similar to you where my husband is 2 to 3 inches shorter than I am as well. But the that came into that package, like you said, I was like, yes, it was all the things my heart wanted where I can be who God has called me to be as a woman, as a wife, a mother one day, all those things. So the height, ladies, I hope you're picking it up. Really,
I hope you're picking it up. Yes. And that's like the most superficial of the shallow end, but it runs the gamut. I mean, you would just not even imagine the things that I hear. But the thing is that people don't understand that those are all things that you've created to try to keep yourself safe, right? This list to try to keep yourself from settling. I hear that word. Yes. People need to know that dust settles, friends. Ooh. Court cases settle. Relationships, the word settle doesn't go there. You're going to compromise. Okay. You're going to have to marry potential. People are like, well, I don't want to marry potential. What? All anyone ever has is potential, right? And we have to activate that potential as a couple. Yeah. No, fixer-uppers are for houses, not spouses. And you definitely don't want to get into a fix-it. Okay. You're not Bob the Builder, but at the same time, you do want to marry someone who has potential and a lot of it. And you're going to help them realize it and they're going to help you. And that's the way it works.
If I had a mic, I need this mic right now. Otherwise I'd pick it up and drop it. Like quite literally. Like that was so good. I love your one-liners, punch, jab, jab. Like you nailed it, won the fight. I love this so much. And as we're wrapping this up today, like there's so much good things in here where I think you did a beautiful job highlighting a lot of what people get stuck on and then they just stay there, right? But being able to be around somebody like you or getting support or maybe even diving into one of your programs, because let's face it, like, are you just going to wait for something to happen and you're not changing anything? Or are you going to put yourself in an environment where it's going to, let's just, nudge you, force you, like, we're going to elevate here and we're going to do something different so we can break off certain things that need to be broken off. Anyways, all that to say, is there anything else you'd love to leave us with on this just wisdom-filled podcast today? I'm loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. You said, they're gonna get stuck and they're gonna stay there, but they're not just gonna stay there. They're going to blame staying there on a lot of things that are not the real reason why they're there, right? And that goes back full circle to your problem's not your problem. In fact, really in my heart for 2025 for singles was full circle. A lot of people are going to be coming full circle to a lot of different things, including old relationships that you weren't mature enough for. They weren't toxic. You just weren't mature. And that's not for everybody, but that has been for a lot of people. Honestly, that's been happening, but people are going to get stuck there, but then they're going to blame it on there's no good men, right? It's the city that I live in. There's no single people here. And I often have people Google the population of their city. And I said, oh, there's just not one single guy for you in this entire 2.5 million person city. Not just one, because all you need is one, honey bun. That's all you need. And so, but they're going to blame that stagnation on something besides what it really is. And so if you're ready to do the work, we will call you out in love, but we will call you up, and I would love to help you.
I love that. Out, call you up, call you out in love. I hope you heard the in love part, because obviously, like, there's been nothing but just real talk, but love on this. And that's why when I was introduced to you as a potential guest on the podcast, I was like, instantly, I was like, instant friends, fell in love. Yeah, all the things. Like, this is amazing, because it's like, it's voices and leaders like you that are breaking up the stereotype. People just keep staying stuck in the same rut because they don't know what else is out there. And so
Right.
I already know the right people are going to listen to this. People, you already know, probably 5 to 10 people you need to share this with, because I know I have a ton of single friends that I'm going to be sending this to, of like, look, there is so much hope. You just got to get in the right environment, the right atmosphere, and listen to the right people, rather than the ones that are just on repeat, having you going in circles. This isn't a merry-go-round. Like, we want to get off and get on with our life. So, Jackie, this has been so amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. It means the world to me that you would lean in, listen in, and be able to hear the value that's being shared on this show. Don't forget, if you love this episode, rate the show, leave me a review, be sure to share it with a friend, and don't forget to tag me on social media. I will definitely be giving you a shout out. Also, come say hi, drop in the DMs. I would love to be able to hear what stood out to you the most on the episode, and if there's any topics that you would like to hear on the show. We'll see you next time.